Evolution of internal control, the responsibility of maintaining adequate accounting system, incorporating various internal control to the extent appropriate to size or the nature of the business vested with the management. A sound internal control would enable the organization to play loopholes in the working, particularly the deciding the fraud, and would also aid in timely decision making. Auditors should gain understanding of the accounting system and relate internal control adopted by the NBFC to determine whether nature, timing, extent of the audit procedure. Audit should also ascertain whether the internal control put in the place of NBFC is adequate and so being effectively audited. In particular, an auditor should review the effectiveness of a system of recovery prevalent to the NBFCs. He should ascertain whether the NBFC has effective system of periodical review of advances in the place which would facilitate effective monitoring and follow. Absence of the particular periodical review system would result in non-deductive of sticky advances. Registry, its very inception may ultimately result in NBFC having alarming high level of NPA. Registration with the RBA. Section 45 1A instituted by the RBA Act 1934 with respect to 9th January 1977 was made incumbent on the part of all NBFC to comply with the registration requirement and have minimum weight one fund of 10 crores. Although the requirement of the minimum invoice present case was 200 lakhs 2 crores, however, the strengthening the financial sectors and technology adaptation, the view of increasing complexity of services offered by NBFC, it shall be mandated to all the NBFC to raise the minimum fund of NOF minimum net one fund of 10 crores for commercial carrying out this business. Auditors should obtain a copy of certificate of registered granted by the RBA. On the case of certificate register has not been granted, copy of application form filed with the RBA for registration. It may be particularly noted that the NBFC incorporated after 9th January 1997 was not entitled to commence on business without first obtaining a registration certificate from the RBA. An auditor should therefore verify whether the dual conditions relating to the registration with the RBA in terms of minimum net worth fund have been duly complied with the commencing of NBFC. Every NBFC holding public deposit is required to invest a specific percentage of RBA may be specified time. RBA is also prescribed format for reporting and ensuring compliance with the requirement of maintenance of liquid asset on a quarterly basis. This quarterly return, duly signed by the NBFC, should be submitted within the prescribed time limit from the end of relevant quarter and in reference to the investment held in appropriate securities during a relevant period. Auditor should ascertain whether investment is prescribed limit prescribed liquid asset have been made and whether quarterly returns on mentioned above has been regularly filed by RBA by the concerned NBFC. NBFC acceptance of public deposit directions. At non-banking financial company accept a public deposit, auditor must ascertain whether the company properly classified as per the requirement of various regulations. In the case of NBC has not classified by the RBI, the classification of the company will have been determined by carefully considering the various factors such as regulation of yearly registration and if any particular furnish in the application form of registration, company memorandum articles and financial results thereof. It must be ascertained whether the company has complied with the following aspects in the relation to the activity of mobilizing the public fund deposits. A ceiling on quantum of public deposit has been linked to the credit rating as given by the appropriate credit rating agency. Obtain a set copy of credit rating set assigned by the NBFC and check whether the public deposit accepted held it in accordance with the level of credit rating assigned to it. In the event of upgrading, downgrade, or credit rating, auditor should bear the mind that NBFC will have increased in reduced public deposit in accordance with the revised credit rating assigned to it. Within the specified limit, the frame should ensure that NBFC has informed about the same to the RBI in writing. In the event of downgrading of the credit rating below the minimum specified investment grade, non-banking financial company, being an investment and credit banks or factors, shall regulate the excess deposit overs provided with immediate effect. Stop acting fresh public deposits and renew the existing deposit. All existing deposits shall run off to maturity. Report the position within 15 working days to the recommended regional office or the RBA where NBFC's register. Provide no matured public deposit shall be renewed without the expenses and voluntary consent of the depositor. Test check the interest calculation respect of public deposit mobilized of the NBFC to ascertain that NBFC has not paid interest in excess per condition. Likewise, test check of brokerage, commission, incentive calculation with the bills and vouchers for reimbursement of out-of-pocket expenses submitted by the parties to ascertain that NBFC has not paid brokerage, commission, incentives, remuneration of expenses in excess as per the specification. Ascertain whether NBFC has accepted and renewed any public deposit. Only after the return application form, the deposit in the form to be supplied by the company and shall contain all the particulars specified in non-banking financial company and miscellaneous non-banking companies advertisement regulation rules 1977. Further, ensure whether the certain specific categories of depositor, whether the depositor is shareholder or director or the promoter or member of the public. Whether the deposit register maintained by the NBFC and test check the particulars that have been entered there in respect of such depositor with the supporting receipts issued to the depositor. Also check whether the NBFC is regularly paying its deposit on due dates and the case of delay default, reason for the delay default and the actual date of payment should be noted. Check whether the investment made in approved liquid asset of NBFC holding public deposit has been lodged in the safe custody with a designated scheduled commercial bank as required by the NBFC acceptance and public deposit directions. Also whether certifications obtained from the RBA to the effect. Check whether the NBFC has filed the prescribed returns in timely manner. In the case of NBFC is not accepting holding a public deposit, check whether the bond resolution has been passed by the NBFC to the effect that it has neither accepted any public deposit or nor would accept any public deposit during the year. In the case of group holding investment company, check whether the NBFC has passed in the board resolution to the effect that the company has invested or would invest or hold its investment in the shares or securities a group of companies specified in the names of the company. In addition to the above, the group holding investment companies are required to give and further understanding that it would not trade such shares or security that is neither accepted nor would accept any public deposit during the year. NBFC prudent norms check compliance with the prudence norms encompassing income regulation, income from investment, accounting standards, accounting from investment, asset classification, provision of bad and provision of capital adequacy ratio, prohibiting on granting loan by NBFC against own shares, prohibition on loans and investment for failure to repay the public deposit norms of concentration of predatory investment. The auditor should ensure that the board of directors of every NBFC grant intended to grant demand call loan shall frame and implement a policy of the company. Auditor should assess on the basis of examination conducted by him whether the NBFC has complied with the prudential norm. In the particular, he would verify that the advances and other credit facilities has been properly classified as a standard, substandard, doubtful loss, and the proper provision has been made according to the direction. In respect of non-performing asset, auditor should check whether the unrealized income in respect of the asset has not been taken to the profit and loss account on accrual basis. Income from NPA should be accounted for for realization basis only. Check whether all the accounts which has been classified as NPA in the previous year also continue to shown as the current year also. The same is not treated as NPA in the current year. The auditor should specifically examine such accounts, ascertain whether the accounts has been regular and the same has been treated as a performance as per the direction. The classification of fraud by NBFC. In order to have an uniformity in reporting, fraud has been classified as under the based mainly on the provision of Indian Penal Code. Misappropriation of criminal breach of trust. The fraudulent encashment through forged instruments, manipulation of books of accounts, or through the fictitious accounts and conversion of property. Unauthorized credit facility extend to reward of illegal gratuity, negligence and cash shortage, cheating and forgery, and irregularities in foreign exchange transaction or any other type of fraud are not coming into specific head as above. In case of negligence and the cash shortage, the irregularities in foreign exchange transaction refer under the D and F. Application cash and fraud, negligence and cash shortages, irregularities in foreign exchange transaction are to be reported as a fraud if the intention to cheat or defraud is suspected or proved. However, the following cases the fraud intent is not suspected proven at the time of production will be treated as a fraud and reporting accordingly. Cases of cash shortage more than 10,000. Cases of cash shortage more than 5,000 detected by the management auditor inspection officer not reported on the occurrence of the person handling cash. So these following cases are fraudulent intention. It's not suspected to prove at the time of action. It is fraud and the report according to 10,000 மேலே கேஷ் ஷார்ட்டேஜ் இருந்தால் ஒரு இஷ்யூ இல்லை. 5,000 மேலே கேஷ் ஷார்ட்டேஜ் கேஷியர் ஃபெயில் வந்ததுன்னா ஒரு இஷ்யூ தான். பட் we can control. Audit checklist. Some important points that will be covered by the audit of NBFC. In addition to the audit points has been covered in the companies in general given below. The NBFC investment audit company NBFC ICC physically verify all the shares and security held by the NBFC, whether the security is lodged in the institution or a bank certificate from the bank institution by the effort must be verified. Verify whether the NBFC has not advanced any loans against the security of its own shares. Verify that dividend income whether declared by the company has been duly received by the NBFC and interest whether due except in case of NPA has been duly accounted for. The NBFC prudent norms require dividend income on the shares of the company and units of the mutual funds to be recognized on the cash basis. However, the NBFC has an option to account the dividend in accrual basis if the same has been declared by the body corporate in an annual general meeting and is a right to receive a payment has been established. Income from the bonds, debentures of the corporate bonds to be accounted as accrual basis. Only if the interest rate on the instrument is predetermined and the interest is serviced regularly, not in arrear. Test check bill contract note received by the brokers with reference to the price versus stock market quotation on the respective price. Verify the board minutes for purchase and sale of securities. Ascertain the board resolution is obtained. The management certified the effect of investment so acquired in the current investment of long-term investment. Check whether the investment has been valued in accordance with the NBFC prudent norms and adequate provision of all on the market value of securities. However, applicable shall made this against have been made that against as acquired by the director. Obtain a list of subsidiary groups of company from the management. Verify the investment made in the subsidiary groups of company during the year. Ascertain the basis of arriving the price paid for the acquisition of such shares and whether the valuation has been prudential norm. Check whether the investment in unquoted debentures bond has been treated as an investment but as a term loan or other credit facility for the purpose of income recognition and asset classification. Auditor will have an ascertain whether the requirement of AS 13 accounting of investment or accounting standard as applicable, the extent they are not inconsistent with the decision, has been duly complained by NBFC. The case of share securities, though deposit obtains information from the depositor regarding the shares and security held on behalf of the NBFC. Verify the securities of the same type of shares received by the bank by the lending paid by the borrower at a time of specified period, though which all the corporate benefits, though that's dividend or right, bonus, interest, and any other right to benefit accrued thereon. Verify charges received or paid in respect of securities and loans and bonds. Obtain a confirmation from the approved intermediary regarding securities deposited with borrowers for it at the year end. Auditor should examine whether each loan advance has been properly sanctioned. He should verify the condition attached to the sanction of each loan advances, that is a limit on borrowing, nature of security, interest, and terms of prepayment.